Hey, what's up? This is Maurizio from Kataklysm, and you are watching Richard Metal Fan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Episode 169 of Richard Metal Fan Interviews. Here calling from Zoom, and have a returning guest, Maurizio from Cataclysm. How are you doing today, man? Great to be able to talk with you again.
We're good, man. How about yourself? Thank you for having me.
Not too bad, man. Seems like it was only yesterday we were talking at the Deicide tour last year. Sure, and it doesn't feel like that's been that long.
Right. It's just time's flying by, real quick, especially this year. It's just been like, I can't believe it's already like going to be August, so it's
Yeah.
fast, but, I guess busy is good versus staying home locked down.
Yeah,
So,
and yeah, you're not wrong there, man. You're not wrong there. So we
mhm.
have the Cataclysm album Goliath coming out August 11th through Nuclear Blast Records. Can you talk to me about the whole writing and recording process and how that whole album came to be and that good stuff?
Sure. So basically, this record was written during pretty much the end of the pandemic. I would say about 22, like last year. Early in the year, we took the whole year to write it. Took our time. It was an easy flow record in the sense that ideas came real quick for it. We have a new drummer, James Payne, that joined us, an incredible drummer with a huge reputation already before even joining Cataclysm. So it was kind of that was his first step into the whole thing. And it was our first record with him. So there was a chemistry thing that needed to happen. That's why those tours like the Deicide one and all that happened, was for us to kind of get the groove on with him and feel the chemistry. When you're on the road, you spend more time with your boys and your family. So it's basically you have to get along. So we came in the record with a really good attitude, and it went pretty smooth, man. We recorded the record in Dallas. It was recorded in multiple places: Dallas, Florida, and LA, and then mixed in the UK with Chris Clancy and Colin Richardson. So it came out great, man. We're very happy with it. The response is big. We're happy in general. So it's looking good.
All right. And did you want to like continue in the same vein as Unconquered, or do you think that Goliath you wanted to like make it kind of like stand out from your previous albums?
So on Concord, we definitely continued the sound orientation, like where we've dropped our tuning. We're into now we get a 7 string guitar type of thing going on, and so that's changed the sound of the band a little bit. And so we emphasized on that, worked on the sound. On Concord was kind of the map for it. And then now we perfectioned it on this record. Writing wise, just much more aggressive record. I mean, Unconquered was done pre-pandemic, kind of in the motion of writing records and taking our time doing stuff. But and we're very happy with that record. But this one has a different vibe to it. It's much more aggressive. Um, it's got like dramatic riffing, and you could tell that the band went through something. It was written during a difficult time. So for us, it's a very authentic record in that regards.
And yeah, and I think you have like the best of both worlds. You have like the heavy side, and then you also have like the melodic side because I know you have like the mixture of like the old school death metal. If I were to introduce Cataclysm, you would have like the old school death metal, like the Florida bands like Deicide and Morbid Angel. But yes, you'll have the hints of like the melodic death metal bands from like Sweden, like At the Gates, Dark Tranquility band. It's like
Yeah.
that. So is it fair to say that like you and JF and everybody brings in sort of like their sort of like your own kind of like influence into Cataclysm?
Absolutely, you nailed it. And one of the only journalists that's seeing that, because the band is obviously, we're not all on the same level as far as like influences are concerned, but we are on the same level of what Cataclysm needs to sound like, and what we want it to sound like. So basically, it's like JF's very melodic guitar player. His favorite band is Iron Maiden. He comes from that world, and some dissection and things like that. Like that was kind of his riffing prowess. And Steph is more of the black metal guy, like in the sense of Dimo Borgir and things like that. I mean, black metal, like symphonic black metal or whatever. And he's the death metal dude in the band, more. I'm also part of that world, but I'm more kind of old school. I love Deicide, and the Florida death metal thing is more my thing. And but I'm also very big into like Pantera, Machine Head, stuff like that. More the thrash metal side of things, like Testament, Old Testament. So if you look at the combination of all that, it really does bring the Cataclysm sound to where it is. It's like big mix of all that stuff.
Yeah, and I know in between Unconquered and Goliath, I know you did like the bands, like your other bands, XDO and Magnus. I think I might have asked you this the last time we spoke, but does like working with those projects sort of like make you approach like the new album with like a fresh mind?
It does. There was a lot of weird stuff that happened on the Invictus record. Super well received. It was considered one of the strongest records of that year, last year when it came out, and did a lot of impact. The problem is that there was a lot of, I don't know if it's censorship or whatever, but it kind of, we had a lot of issues that were unexplained coming from all kinds of areas in tech, and it kind of pushed me on this Kataklysm record to kind of explore that theme a little bit more and push it more further, but in a more open book way of writing it. Goliath is kind of coming out of the ashes of that record a little bit, team wise. So it's definitely something that you could take something and get inspired on something else from. In that vein, it's been not the music, but more the attitude behind it is kind of getting continued on this record.
Yeah. All right, and I know you have like the two video songs out for "Bring Your Vengeance" and "Die as a King," which are pretty badass songs. So, what is like the concept or behind the songs, and even like the music videos for them?
So like the actual concept for the video that was kind of put afterwards. It wasn't, the songs weren't based on those characters. Like it wasn't based on King Richard I or nothing like that. The idea behind it, though, however, is very social based in the sense that it's something that is, the construct of meticulously planning. Anything that you want to do in life needs to be planned and worked on. It's not something that it's going to happen to you just eventually. You just say, hey, I want this, and it's done. In this case, it's the revenge and the honor of getting back the honor of the family by taking his revenge for his dad's murder, in the video. So the kid that witnesses his father get killed and then takes his time through practice and people around him to prepare for the right time to take his revenge. So that can be attributed to anything in life, that your goal is to get here, and there needs to be some suffering to get there. Nothing is going to be given. So that's kind of like the bringing the vengeance part comes from like proving the other people wrong, about things that they think you're not capable of, but you are deep down. You just got to believe in yourself. So the fear part needs to be eliminated, and that's pretty much the theme of that song. And Die as a King is just standing tall to what you believe until the end. It's more like rather die standing up than on your knees.
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely think I love like the with the also kind of asking another question about the videos. Like, do you ever like had to take the like the con of like the video directors like listen to the song and figure out sort of like the vision behind it, or do you usually have like the vision already and you sort of give it to the director?
So I had the vision already for all of it, and even the new video that we just shot like 2 weeks ago, for the last single that's coming out on day of release. Like I just have the vision already. I wanted to do something like that. I wanted to do something medieval a little bit, and kind of, because the album has a kind of a biblical theme. It's like, it's not because of religion or anything like that. It's just because the idea of that was thousands of years ago is still very relevant today. You're always finding some sort of machine somewhere, and or oppressive factor, whether it's in the United States or it's worldwide or it's in a different country. There's somebody going through that. So basically, it's still very relevant today. So we wanted to do something that was also a little bit more ancient, a little bit more historic in the video, so that it can kind of link everything together. And that's why we did that. But the next video is going to be really crazy and modernized, and it's pretty sick. Like we just shot it and we made a big mess out of the studio. It's like going to be a bit crazy. But yeah, this is like a lot of repainting.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a pretty crazy video, and that's going to be released. It's going to be for the track Dark Wings of Deception, first one,
Oh,
and
wow.
that's going to be a big one. And we're very, very excited to release that. And we have a little cameo from one of the dudes in Deicide in it too, so it'll be real cool.
Nice. I can't wait for
You
that.
get the infos first.
Yeah, yeah, right here first on the channel, folks. So kind of, so I also like your lyrics. I know like with XDO, I know you talk about like the ancient Roman history and sort of like the very historical act. Same thing with like Cataclysm. So is there a lot of like research that goes in hand when coming up with the lyrics for these kind of like concepts?
Like to me, it's you know it's very important that the theme is correct, and it's the message is really well portrayed, and it's the truthful vision of what we see. I mean, I have my vision, but everything is an open book. Like I said, people can interpret it the way they want, you know, like in their own minds and whatever, you know, because I don't push a message on people. Like I just everything that happened during these last few years was one of the wake up calls for me that there is an oppressive hand, and that you know the response to a lot of things were very rough. The censorship's crazy, out of control. We live in a society now that's okay, in which I don't believe in that. I'm a very big free speech guy, a very big freedom of choice, very important subjects. If we don't have those things, me and you not having this conversation, for example, you know, journalists will be banned, and I think that's crazy. So debate's important, and I'm very pro that, and so it reflects on the Cataclysm music and the direction we.
All right. And I kind of want to go back in time because there is you have like a lot of anniversaries for some albums because this year does mark 25 years of victims of this fallen world. But I'm curious
Okay,
is
yeah.
what was like the thought process going into that, being as it was like your first record, sort of like taking up lead vocals.
Right. So you know, the fact with Cataclysm, it's that was the black sheep record for us. You know, that's the record that kind of broke the past and the future. It was the middle ground record that's like, okay, this is going to be the new lineup, this is where we're heading. But at that time we were very innocent in that sense, that we just did whatever we wanted to do. There was no preconceived idea. It was just like, let's do what we feel like right now, and that record came out that way. So a lot of people at the beginning were not into it because it was very different. It had more of a hardcore-ish feeling. It was like aggressive melodic death metal with hardcore elements. It was kind of like almost metalcore before metalcore came out, you know, without the clean vocals type of thing. And but it has a big innocence to it, right? It's got this thing where you know, it wasn't preconceived. There was no expectations except for the people that wanted Temple of Knowledge Part 2, you know. Or like, you know, the old Cataclysm back, and we wanted to break that. So it kind of became this record that's tough to gauge if, you know, if we play live some stuff or not, or is it like, you know, that album that's very obscure in our career. And even if it's coming in now 25 years later, we're definitely going to talk about it. We're definitely going to push it out there. You know, it's still an important record in our discography. And the crazy thing is, with time, it's become a favorite to a lot of fans. You know, like they love that record because of that organic kind of realness to it, you know. So it's a controversial record for us, but it's still part of our family, you know.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you have like a formula that you stick with, people say you're repetitive. But if you try to experiment a little bit, people say that you're kind of inconsistent. But at the end of the day, you got to like stick to what your heart tells you and just do what you do.
Absolutely. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, and I also know that last year was, of course, the 20 years of Shadows and Dust was a pretty good album. But I also know that next year will be the 20-year anniversary of Serenity and Fire. So what was that thought process going into that? And I had the privilege of seeing you last time where you played the album in full. So what was that whole experience like playing that?
I mean, it's what it made us realize is that what a strong record, because we play every song on that record live, and you feel like you're playing a hit. You know, it's like we that, you know, we finished playing that set on the DSI tour. We did that thing also in Europe. We did the 15th anniversary of Bolt Records. I think it was, we did a Shadows and Dust thing, and then we had a 15-minute interval. We came back, we did Serenity and Fire. It was like Bolt Records. So, but on this thing, we did just the Serenity. DSI was doing Legion, and but for us, it was like playing every song live. At the end of the line, it was just like, you know, strong, 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 strong. It's like, fuck, you know, it was a big
Damn.
record for the, you know, and it was a fast album for 2004 when it first came out. There was some speed in there, and yeah, it's a good record. I mean, it's a record that aged very well. So let's put it that way. And one of the biggest songs we have by far is As I Slither, which is not even a super heavy track as far as like blast beats are concerned. It's like really just a big groove, heavy tank that crosses and crushes skulls, you know. So it's a big track for
Yeah.
us. Still not.
Yeah, yeah, because like that album, like as I said, there was very different from like a song like the title track or even the tragedy I preach. So I feel like there's like every song, I guess, well with that as well as like any other album, but sort of like reflect like an emotion that you're kind of like feeling at that particular time.
Yes, absolutely. And then, there's moments you're writing a song, you're feeling aggressive, you want to punch a hole in the wall, and then you got Ambassador Pain. Then you go another moment, and it's Tragedy I Preach is something more melodic, and you may be feeling a bit more nostalgic. And that's the that's the realness of Cataclysm. It's not that band that's like doing one song and then 7 songs down the record, you're listening and it could be the exact same track. So I have a problem with that. Like as a writer, like I want to diversify my songs. It's always been important for us. And the cool thing about Cataclysm is I don't think we really repeat ourselves much. I think that we have every album stands out on its own. And when people ask me, "Hey, how come you don't do Crippled and Broken again?" Like that world, and I'm like, because it's been done. Like the fact that we would try and redo that will just dilute all the shit we've done in the past, and I don't want to do that. I really want to move forward, as a band, and but keep the authenticity there, the realness of it, and just keep in mind that who Cataclysm is and as a basis, and I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, and a couple more anniversaries. I know this year is also 15 years of Prevail, and I feel like that's where Cataclysm was Cataclysm up until where you are with the new album. And I know that this year is also 10 years of waiting for the end to come. So, what was sort of like the mind frame going into that? Did you want to like try to like make it like the Cataclysm sound that we all know and love today?
Well, I think that's the climbing of that mountain is coming from all these records. All these records have brought something, like Waiting for the End to Come is an interesting record. It's the first one with Ali, our old drummer, the one that did the last 4 before this one. And that record was very aggressive. It's almost like every time we change a drummer, we're coming in with a punch. It's like and we've had a series of that. If I look at all the first records all these guys have done that were drummers, they were all kind of classics. Max coming back on In the Arms of Devastation was a big record for Cataclysm as well. Like, so there's this kind of myth, that's there at the moment. But an album like Waiting for the End to Come was kind of showing the world Cataclysm is capable of going in directions that are much heavier than people can expect, and do some really dark stuff. To me, that's one of the darkest Cataclysm record we've ever written. Songs like Fire and what was that first one again? It's called, I have a blank memory now. The God one, the first song. So to me, it's a record that's super dark, aggressive, and kind of brought back that type of thing that we used to do in the early 90s with that record specifically. Prevail is just a groove monster, just a lot of power, and it's not a very melodic record. It's just a lot of power in that song. Like songs like Chains of Power is just like, Slayer on adrenaline, you know what I mean? So we it depends on the mood.
Yeah, and I know, and of course, you mentioned earlier this is the first album with your current drummer, James. Did he bring in something like new to Cataclysm that y'all didn't have previously?
He brought back a chemistry that we lost over the years, that we really needed back since the days that we had Max in the band. We feel as good as when Max was in the band, like, because that was the classic Cataclysm lineup to me. Like, it was with Max, Steph, me, JF, that chemistry there. We did some of the biggest records together, like Shadows and Dust, Epic, and In the Arms of Devastation, Prevail, all with Max. And then I believe that we have that back now, and it's important, And James is, as one thing that James did that's really cool, is that he wanted to keep that Northern Hyperblast blast beat. He wanted to bring it back, and he's like, that's part of the history of the band. Even if I never wrote that blast beat, I never really played it. Like, I want to do it because it's important for the. So this record kind of has a return of that blast beat, which we haven't had in 4 records. So we have a little bit of that. It's the metronome blast beat with that big bass drum, that got invented years ago from us. And so it's cool to have that back. So he respects the history, but yet he's going to modernize the band, right? So he's coming in and bringing a different touch that it gels with us very well. And I think it's reflective on this record.
Hmm, good, right. And And I think that he does a really great job, like especially like for only the two songs that we've heard so far. He definitely brings in something new, like rhythmically. It's like it totally brings like a different like feel and emotion behind like the songs.
Yeah, he could destroy a wall like in the last minute. He can, keep it nice and calm, and then like he's capable of moving his skill set with the song, and he's able to put the right beats at the right places, and I think that's important, to be able to read that.
Yeah, and sort of like in the end to wrap things up, what's next for Cataclysm? Obviously, with the album, have you all like got like coming out? Do you have like tours like lined up?
Right now, we're gonna do. We're leaving in about 2 weeks, a week and a half, I would say. At the end of July, we're leaving to Europe. We're doing Wacken and Summer Breeze and Partisan, a bunch of open airs. We're doing two release shows in Germany as well that are important shows because we've never done something like that over there. Since we're already on the ground, we're going to do that. The album's killing it in Germany right now. It's album of the month everywhere there, and so it's looking good. We're going to do that. Then we're coming back and we're going to start our campaign probably in November. We're going to do Canada and some dates in Canada first. That's the plan. And then in the US will be in 24, and then some more European stuff in 24. That's the plans right now. So we are starting to work on the campaigns for it, but we will be out there.
Awesome. So thank you, Maurizio, for this interview. It was great to be able to talk with you today. Here's just any final words you want to say to close this out for the viewers that are watching
Just
this.
First of all, thank you for taking the time to talk to me, and I appreciate you. Appreciate your fan base that's listening to you as well. Give the record a chance. It's not going to be one song that's going to define this record. You got to really listen to the whole thing to get the picture of it. And so we really appreciate the support. Stay metal, and that's it, man. Fucking all the best to you.
Awesome. So everybody, Maurizio from Cataclysm, make sure to check out the new album Goliath coming out August 11th over on Nuclear Blast Records, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, man. Cheers so much.